Hi, Starlights. Welcome to the You Are Celestial podcast. I am your host, astrologer and soul-centered transformation guide, Lumi Pelinku. This is a space where we explore astrology, healing, and the journey back to your most aligned soul-centered self. If you have found your way here, you're likely a woman who has already gone through deep inner work. You've reflected, you've healed, you've grown, and now you're no longer available for relationships that require you to overextend, overgive, or shrink yourself to be loved. You are ready for something deeper, a connection that feels present, safe, and reciprocated. And one of the biggest shifts I have been witnessing, not just astrologically, but collectively, is the rise of emotionally available men. Men who are no longer just performing strength, but learning how to embody it. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Brian Paris, a neuroscience-based holistic performance coach and speaker at Gaia's upcoming Immersion Conference, which is taking place on March 14th through the 15th. Gaia is the world's largest conscious streaming platform, offering thousands of programs focused on personal growth, spirituality, and wellness. Dr. Brian's work bridges modern neuroscience with embodiment practices, helping people to regulate their nervous systems and reconnect to presence, something that deeply impacts how we show up in our relationships. In today's conversation, we're going to be exploring what it really means for men to become emotionally available and how nervous system regulation shapes connection and why this shift is changing the way women are experiencing love, safety, and partnership. And we'll also weave in an astrology lens, exploring how masculine energy is evolving through archetypes like Mars, the Moon, Venus, and Saturn. Let's get to it. All right, so here I am joined by Dr. Brian Paris. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Yes, I would love to just get started, and I would love to begin with your journey and what led you to this work and how did it become your life's path? Let's talk about you.
All right, enough about me. Let's talk about me. So I started, and I've said this before, and I think I started my life as an ADHD child, and movement became my medicine. It was the only thing that healed me. I was shamed for being sensitive, shamed for being hyper, shamed for being emotional and fired. I wasn't the kid who was sitting there crying all the time. I was the kid who was very, very hyper. So movement became medicine for me really early on, and that was more through sport and camaraderie from there. But I eventually I studied movement in college, and then eventually became a chiropractor, and I did that for 10 straight years of just working on humans. And I really ignored myself and didn't, and like a lot of practitioners and body workers, we tend to ignore ourselves and give everything that we have to others. And I lost connection to myself. After that, I hit rock bottom. And I achieved extreme levels of burnout and became frozen for years without even knowing it. Now I look back, and in hindsight, I can see where I was frozen and making decisions out of fear and shutdown versus creativity and intuition. And that led me to a path to really understand embodiment. And embodiment can have a lot of different definitions, but I really like to look at it as, inhabiting your body. Like, do you feel safe and trusting yourself with where you sit and where you stand? And that all came down to presence. It's like everything that I focus on my life and everything that's externally coming at me is distracting me and all other humans from being truly present. And that's become my life's path and my life's journey.
Wow, that is really beautiful. And I feel like a lot of people who are on the healing path, they're on like the path of service, usually in the beginning parts of their practice, I like to say, and even experience, they usually do overlook themselves. I can definitely relate to this. And also for the people that I have worked with in the past. And it's such a common thing that we all go through. But in order to do that, like whenever we are in that space of overlooking ourselves, we get to see what we're missing in terms of how we could serve other people better too, because we eventually evolve and become better. And I feel like the best example is through you. in terms of like how you got yourself better. And it's very
Yeah.
relatable. And I definitely
Awesome.
applaud you for that. Was there a moment where you realized that transformation goes beyond mindset and into the body and nervous system?
I would say that, because I had gone through so many seminars where people were just talking at you or talking, personal development stuff. And there's a lot of talk and a lot of mindset, and a lot of head down work.
Mm,
And for me, I always have been someone where I felt my body. I didn't necessarily know how to tune into it or have vocabulary around it until
mhm,
later in life. If I can, surmise it all to what makes me feel alive. And what makes me feel alive is that integration between mind and body. And it's not this woo-woo thing. There's complete neuroscience that backs it all up. I mean, we could nerd out and geek out on
I love
vagus
that.
nerve and
Yeah.
its sensory components and how it feeds our brain.
Hmm.
But truthfully, the body speaks and the mind listens. It's just, can
Hmm.
we quiet down enough to listen to what the body is telling us, because it happens prior to the stories we add to it or the definitions or meaning we put to things. So I don't know if it's exactly one point in my life, but I can look at several different points in my life where I'm like, all right, I got to start listening to my intuition. And I don't think it was until I matured into my late 40s and 50s that I learned neuroscientifically that we can actually integrate intellect and intuition and empathy and execution and put these things together into who we're being in the world.
Do you feel like there's like how do you feel like in terms of the age factor? And you just brought that so beautifully into it. And that was going to be my follow-up question. Like, do you feel like in your studies and your research and everything, do you feel like there's like a set number in terms of like when men do develop this conscious mindset? Because I know for
That's
women,
a
it's like a
that's a
little bit
great.
early on compared
I'd say
to,
it's way earlier on,
yeah.
and I think it makes sense where it's pervasive that younger women are dating older men,
Hmm.
and it's, I'm not a proponent either direction.
Yeah.
I'm one for just connection and depth, and from there. But men are dense, like we have denser tissues. I'm not saying
Hmm.
dense mentally, but I mean, you talk to any woman out there and they want their man to be more emotionally intelligent and more emotionally aware. I
Yeah.
don't think those things come online until later in life. My own experience, I started waking up at about 35, just saying like, "Ooh, this is not where I need to be in life, and what do I need to do to improve all areas of my life." Now, that's not to say like, okay, I'm going to spend my 40s and 50s just crying and in hugging circles. It's more
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm a warrior,
Hmm.
and I don't know what the right word is. The word that comes to mind, like I'm a warrior and I'm a lover, and
Hmm.
I can mesh my emotion into my physicality. So and approach life from that perspective. It's
That's so beautiful because I'm going to weave in a little bit of astrology, but there's timing in terms of our life cycles.
mm,
There's one such auspicious one that we all go through every 12 years. So around the time when we turn 35 to 36, we go through our third Jupiter return. Jupiter has to do with the teacher, the person who is learning so much in terms of like whatever it is that they intend to do in correspondence to their life purpose. And also, it helps them realize what they need to let go of, like what areas of their life they need to expand upon. And it's usually the soul mindset, the conscious
yeah.
mindset too. And also another thing is called a nodal return. Nodes are like about our like our destiny that comes into play and the
Okay.
things that we haven't really paid attention to 18 years prior. So around
Mm,
36 years old, I subtract 18 years prior to that, we're a lot younger, of course, but we
yeah.
complete that official cycle there. And then it just continues on from there. But so I'd say like the age of 36 into the 40s is the sweet spot in terms of our development as a soul. And we start realizing what our purpose is going to be. So it's
Love it.
very fitting and it does relate. So I'm talking about the spiritual kind of edge of woo-woo astrology, but astrology could be
Yeah.
very scientific as well in terms of cycles and numbers and
When
with the
I add I
neuroscience.
add I add the term like awakening, right? Like we all
Yeah.
go through these different levels of awakening, right? when we're just needing our parents as little babies, right? And
Hmm.
attachment and being fed. And then we awaken into like, oh, I can move in the environment and touch
Hmm.
fire. That's bad, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, we keep going through these awakenings. My mind is blown by astrology and when it
Hmm.
ties, when I've been enlightened to different cycles in life. I'm like, and it always aligns with where my life has completely pivoted. And it didn't make sense in the moment, but now
Hmm.
looking backwards, like, wow, I wish I had this information earlier.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that we booked this interview like the day before the solar eclipse. It's really cool. Like
Mm.
solar eclipse in Aquarius. If you don't mind me asking, like, what's your sign? I don't want to like talk so much about astrology
Sun,
today, but your
I'm a
birthday.
Libra. I'm a Libra. Yeah.
Libra, okay, the air
Yeah.
sign. Yeah, that explains
Yeah.
why you are very much into relationship and harmonizing it. Also learning how to
Yes.
master the body, learning more about how to engage more with the higher mind. That's a Libra energy
Mm.
because it's air sign. Air is about
Yeah.
information, communications, technology, all of that stuff. So
Love
it's
it.
very fitting. It's beautiful. And it makes sense as
Thank
to
you.
why you're connected in terms of relating with people and making sense as to how to harmonize the body. It's very Libra connected. Let's speak about like how regulation is the foundation for growth and how does the nervous system shape the way we show up in relationships. This is a big one for my audience because they're all women basically, and they would love to know like how men are tapping into this or the work that you are contributing. Like how is this possible?
That's a great question. How long? We have a couple hours here.
No.
We only have a short. All right, I'm going to
No
go very
spark. I
high
mean, a little
level.
bit of cliff notes if that's
Okay. All
possible.
right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I will dummy it down for sure. So
Please. Yeah.
nervous system regulation, really, if I could surmise it, it's being in response versus reaction,
Hmm.
right? There's someone behind the thoughts. There's someone behind or something and that's there's science that's exploring consciousness, and there's also spirituality has been exploring consciousness since the beginning of time, and science is like catching up and proving like the things that the ancients and the mystics already knew and the shamans.
Yeah.
So for myself in my studies, I find that where science and God or science and religion, they end up at the same point all the time. And regulating the nervous system is about, I think part of it is having a vocabulary and also tapping into things as simple as bodily sensations. Like, ooh, when I'm in this meeting with this person, I'm nauseous. All right, that's
Yeah.
my nervous system. It's not like, oh, I ate something bad. It's typically if it's a repetitive feeling or bodily sensation, this is my body speaking to me. The key is, can we slow down enough through practices like meditation and breath work and mindfulness to be able to listen to those signals coming from the body so we're more informed and can make decisions based on our nervous system being regulated or dysregulated. I
Hmm.
spent decades making decisions from a dysregulated space, and now I can sit firmly in a yes, or more firmly, it's been harder and more of a path to sit firmly in a no. Like,
Hmm.
my wisdom is better than yours. And it's not because I'm smarter or anything or more evolved. It's because I'm using the information that's informed me to make good decisions in the past, recent past, and then using those as I go forward. All
We
right,
all
cool.
like have that natural inclination of filtering out with who we vibe with, that word,
Hmm.
and also
Hmm.
who we are truly not connecting with. And it's usually through our gut feeling. Literally, you feel like, as you said, like anxiousness, that's usually an indicator that your body's saying, like, hey, back up. There's
Yeah.
something that's not meshing well with you. And some people, just going into like, people that I've worked with and as well as myself, like personally in relationships, if ever you overlook that anxious feeling, that ick feeling, it leads to lots of growth. For one, in terms of like learning how to trust that intuition that you have that's built into
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
two, learning also when to say no, when you keep falling into that trap of like trying to make sense as to painting a picture of this person as being good or labeled good for you, but your body is basically, it has all that sensor technology, I have to say, needed
Yeah.
for us to filter out these connections. And I think it's really important for us to know and learn how to trust ourselves more.
Well, an edge, there was something that came up for me is that like an edge for myself is, can I be with someone that I inherently or based on previous thoughts disagree with? Like, can I stay open physically? Can I stay open psychologically, spiritually, so that I can receive something and then firmly give it a yes or a no. Like, hey,
Hmm.
I respect that you have a different opinion and I don't agree. I don't have
Yeah.
to argue about it or get emotional. It's just like, okay, I can be present and grounded enough in myself that these decisions that I make to either listen or adhere with somebody or team up with somebody makes clear sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the lesson is basically to respect each other's viewpoints. You don't have to convert people. Like it's not that
Right.
kind like we're not like that kind of like naysayers and like those kind of people who like want to convert everybody to believe in one mindset because that's not what colors the world. It's just like it's all the differing degrees of shades that we embody in that moment
So
in
true.
time. And it's very
So
fitting
true.
also like even the way aura colors come through. Like in terms of like you tracking yourself and even people that you're with. If you take a picture together, you get to see like how your colors mesh into each other or they clash. Like you could definitely
Mm.
tell. It's interesting thing for you to look into. What does it look like for a man to become emotionally available, not just in theory, but in real life? We'll go more into the emotional component as to your work.
And I think that the most important starting point is to work with other men.
Mm, yes.
And men can chime into this, but I have found the most difficult container to express an emotion is with a female that I have romantic interest with. And
Yeah.
that's been the edge that I'm leaning into. I've practiced by being in containers with men because men are always typically, right? Us men, we want to fix things, we want to solve things, we want to be the alpha and the strongest man in the room. However, there are containers that exist that I'm part of, that I've led, that I've followed, that I'm been consistent with over periods of time where I'm in groups with men who want to, and most of us have had something fall apart, whether it's a
Mm,
marriage or substance abuse or you name it. We've all been through similar things and we fight similar battles. And many men, they want to continue to fight and be a warrior late into life. But there comes a time where that sword needs to be sheathed and
mhm.
step into being an elder. And I think becoming mature as a man is about learning how to regulate one's emotions. And the best container to do that is to be with men and be faced with something like, hey, I completely disagree with your opinion. And here's what it brings up for me.
Mhm.
Practicing what the vocabulary is. And then once you've practiced that, carry that into a romantic relationship with a partner.
I couldn't agree more because I feel like we're all social creatures. We're social
Mm-hmm.
beings. And when we enmesh ourselves with so many different, or this group of people who are not elevating you, in fact, decelerating you, it could impact your growth, you know?
Yeah,
But the ones who like actually question things, like obviously in the group, they're obviously not going to be enmeshing well with these people anymore.
right.
Very interesting is like the thing is like in terms of reflecting on my past relationship. I was married before. I don't want to get too personal here, but I noticed that when I was married to him, whenever we had soul level connection or discussions, like it was so brief, and then all of a sudden when
Mm,
he would like join with his group of friends that he's normally with, he would never want to talk about it like in that
mm.
space. He wouldn't even want to carry on the conversation even further than what we reached. So in my case, I was one of those kind of women who loved to, save a person, or like I was like kind
Yes.
of person like I'm gonna elevate you. Like let's talk about the spiritual stuff. I was just like, let's be God and goddess. Like I'm not like that anymore, obviously, because I want somebody who matches my level. But in the
Yeah, yeah.
past, it was just like the false sense of security that he wanted to learn and wanted to, contribute to my growth and vice versa, me to him. But it just didn't happen that way. Do you feel like in your practice that you work with men like this? Like, do you, not to say I
All
want
the
you to
time.
convert men or anything like that, but like, have you ever crossed paths with people like this?
Yeah, yeah, all the time. And it does. There's a quote. I don't know if I made this up, but I use it all the time anyway. But it's
Hmm.
tension over time maketh man. And this is something that I use in my men's containers and with men that I coach that,
Hmm.
you know, becoming the man you want to be is feeling that tension over a period of time. There's an inherent energy of a man that wants to protect and provide. And it's more support than solve. we've been trained to solve, right? There's
Yeah.
something wrong. There's something broken. Can we fix this? It's not about fixing. It's about accepting, supporting, and then creatively coming up with, a new plan or new direction.
Mm.
So I run into men constantly. And what's interesting is that in this line of work, like I don't have a man bun, I've got a tight haircut, and like I can bridge between the high producing doing executive and that man just as much as the man who's at the bottom of the rung, who's in his 20s,
Mhm.
wants to be a better person for their children, for their relationship. I mean, the statistics are staggering. We know divorce is through the roof, right?
Yeah.
And it's just as much women's issues as it is men's issues. Like women have become hyper masculine and stuck
Yeah.
in their masculine energy, and men have been shunned for being emotional their entire lives. So like there is a common ground where we can cultivate those energies within ourselves, because we all have masculine and feminine
Yes.
energies within us, and like can we cultivate those? And in romance, like choosing leadership in the right time and playing with those energies, because that's also what keeps desire, is having a polarity between those two. I've been divorced
Absolutely.
as well, so and I
Yeah.
understand that. And we
Yeah.
can we can keep double clicking on this one, but
Totally. Yeah, I feel like that was the biggest struggle. And a lot of women like me, like we tend to find ourselves in relationships where we need to step up or where we need to like actually initiate. Do you feel like men are taking the back seat due to this surgence of women becoming very much like hyper independent or needing to pick up the
I,
slack? Like, what is like, how do you feel?
I
Like,
think
why
there's
is this
just I think there's
happening?
just confusion. I think there's just confusion. It's
Yeah, it
like it's
is.
because society's telling us to act differently than our biology and what the
Yeah,
energy is telling us to do. But in order for a relationship to endure, you have to have love and desire.
yeah,
They're different, right? So like when you have desire, it's because one person occupies the masculine pole and the other one occupies the feminine pole, and those create desire. That's like physics.
yeah,
And if you're both occupying one pole, like where you're out just doing all day long and focusing on the schedule and direction, you're both like in this masculine, over masculine energy. Like how do you allow or evoke those behaviors from your partner? That's really where the work lies, is like
mhm,
the two of you understanding, being committed to a path to create desire, and with a foundation of love, and evoking those behaviors from each other. So it's a
yeah,
two-way street. And I think that, just like going back to what we said, it's like the change has to be within yourself. Like, do you
absolutely.
want to move in this direction in your own personal relationship? Because when your personal relationship, romance, or other relationships, when they expand, like the collective expands.
What shifts in a relationship when a man is emotionally present versus emotionally unavailable?
Love.
Hmm.
I feel like it creates a platform for love to arise, and even spiritual evolution through relating. I think that that's possible. When you're able to speak your truth, and this is a journey for myself personally that I've been expanding into,
Hmm.
into my 50s, where like I'm now speaking way more of my truth around in romantic relationships, and even like parental relationships or business relationships. And the key is, I do feel like we have a responsibility in how we deliver these messages as well. It's not just like, oh, I'm speaking my truth and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like because it's going to fall on your perception, your sensory body, and your mind and memory, and then there are some nuances there.
Like, why do you think emotionally sensitive or emotionally self-aware men are becoming more attracted to women right now?
Because I think that the depth of a woman's emotions is endless. Like women that I meet are like begging to be met emotionally,
Yeah.
and like space to be held. There was like a funny meme that came out with, I don't know if you saw, it was like a woman with a nail in her forehead, and the man just wanted to like take the nail out of her forehead, and she's like, I just want you to listen to me. and it,
Hmm.
but you have a nail, and he's like, okay, sweetie, like I totally understand where you're coming from. So and again, like I don't think we have to become these soft, mushy. Like I
No.
feel like the true presence of man is just that, is presence. Like, can you hold the space? Can you contain the emotions? Or can you not? And sometimes you can, and it's, things can crumble. But I think that's what women, this is just life according to me and my experience. But I do feel like, playing within that energy in a romantic relationship will help it endure and allow us. I mean, ultimately, no matter what your energy or sexual preference or gender, whatever that is, we all want to be
Yeah.
seen and felt and understood. That is the bottom line. That doesn't happen by solving problems or answering questions. It happens by holding space and allowing someone to be themselves and arrive at their own growth.
Do you feel like that the sole reason as to why we are navigating such a hard time, or we're having such a hard time in terms of forming close relationships, is all through technology? Do you think it's like rewiring our brains to be on, like everybody's being on fix it mode too, or instant judgments or instant information? Like if we see something in a man or something in a woman in terms of like the red flag, we'll go to that. Like, do you
Well,
think
I think
that's the
there's like
reason why?
there's too many options out there too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going to go back to the app and swipe again, again, and again. But that again, that's its own cycle of graspiness in my experience. Like I
Yeah.
feel like those spaces are very graspy. Like, and everyone's like, oh, I'm looking for the one. I don't know if there's the one. I haven't really. I've had great loves and
Mhm.
respectful relationships that I've had in my life. I believe that we bail out when it gets difficult because it's like, oh, there's another option. I'll go out and find somebody. But then it's like you're in this endless cycle of
Yeah.
never taking it past the next level. Like, how do I break past this edge of where I get really afraid to communicate? Like, I'm scared as shit being in this relationship. I'm
Mhm.
scared of commitment. I'm scared to what it looks like for divorce because I've been divorced before and I don't want to do it again. Again, it comes back to like embody ourselves and be grounded and be
Yes.
comfortable and focus on the addition to someone's life and vice versa. Like asking the question, like, what can I give more versus what can I take?
How do we evolve from this? Like
I
even
think
when the
one
going gets tough.
conversation, one, right?
Yeah. How do
Yeah.
we evolve from this? It's like we're in the catalog mindset. You're like, oh, let's go back there and switch over and see what's better.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting, and it's also like creating such a huge disconnect. But the great part is for the work that you're doing, you're actually bringing people into a sense of awareness, men in particular. So that sounds very
Yeah.
hopeful for us, in terms of what's
Thank you.
happening. We're evolving consciousness, and men too. I
Yes.
feel like they can contribute such an incredible impact. Like as you lean into helping one man, helps the other man, help the other man. So just keep going in terms of like the work that you've been doing, and thank you for your service
You're
with
welcome,
that.
and I can't just let you put it on me because I have to.
No, no,
I've
not
got
at
to
all.
give credit to the groups that are out there that I've learned from, and the elders and
Absolutely.
people that have taught me. And this goes back to ancient traditions too. Like I've
Yes.
sat with shamans who don't talk about just plant medicines and teepees. Like we're talking
Yeah.
about being able to be aware of oneself and aware of others and the environment at the
Yes.
same time. And these weave into all ancient traditions.
The information's all in us. The information's
Yeah.
already when we just start disengaging from the outside noise and learning how to center within. And that's what
Yeah.
actually reawakens your inner knowing. And also you see the same effects, I think, virtually.
And what's really interesting, like conversations like this are
Mm-hmm.
what bridge, because a lot of people don't want to listen to the woo woo, right? But if you
Yeah.
look at all of the top level companies in the world, the executives are sneaking off to work with people like myself and others like me to be in these spaces where I can embody and make informed decisions based on what it's like to be human and use our biology to make decisions, not just my mind or my past.
What do you think about where masculine energy is heading culturally?
I'm immersed in it, so I'm seeing it shift. I hold space and sit with men who are in the work, and that's who I surround myself with. When I grew up, I was like I'm like a meathead and a jock, right? And so like, but I've evolved significantly from that, and then I became a frat boy, right? So like I've lived all those I've worn those hats,
The different
and
archetypes of the man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and but now come full circle, like people who I haven't seen in 20, 30 years are dropping me messages like, dude, thank you for sharing what you're sharing. I went through these same struggles, and
Mhm.
where I have leaned into my own gifts of speaking and being vocal and truly like performing and just being on, but it's not a performance. It's more like, okay, how do I get more grounded so I can just speak my experience and what truths I learned from there.
So why do you think men are becoming more inclined to tuning into their inner work right now?
Men's inner work is sexy. That's why.
I think so too. Why all of a sudden? Yeah, and that's the amazing thing. Like this is like this new surgeon's coming through. Like, what do you feel in terms of your area of expertise?
It's like the 100th monkey. Have you heard of that concept?
No.
Let's say you have an island with a whole bunch of monkeys on it and they
Mhm.
exhibit some kind of behavior. And what science has shown us that like when it hits that number of like 100 monkeys doing it on this solitary island across the globe, the same behavior starts to occur.
Wow.
So there's something going on, and you understand this astrologically, but there's something in quantum physics that could explain it. There's people
Hmm.
way smarter than me, but or like the butterfly effect, right?
It's like the
Like where
Maharishi too, like the Maharishi effect, like where
oh,
people pray at the same time or they meditate at the same time on a goal. It actually increases tenfold. So we're all like connected, like through, well, for one thing, I talk about the astrology lens, like we're all made of stars. Like originally we came from the source of creation itself through the matter, debris, everything where creation started. And that's why we all have a piece
so
of that light in us. So where
beautiful.
one person does one thing, it expands, but whereas a whole group does one thing at the same time, it magnifies, you know.
Now that's called the Maharishi effect.
Yeah, Maharishi is through the collective prayer or
Okay.
collective meditation. What are some signs? Because I want to talk more about guidance for women. What are some signs women can look for to know that a man is genuinely doing inner work versus performing the growth?
You got some good questions there, my friend.
I'm
Does he
curious
ask?
myself because I'm in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
phase where I'm like exploring the idea of stepping into love again. How do we know if they're just saying that just to mirror you, as opposed to them actually, living the practices and doing all these things?
Well, it's funny because I could say like look at his bookshelf when you or does he have a
Oh
bookshelf?
yeah,
But
that's
just
good.
but just reading books is
If he
not
even has a book
experience,
on his
right?
shelf.
Correct. Yeah, but you don't. But also though, there's that level of like, okay, I got the books, but I didn't read them, right? Because Amazon's pretty easy to order them from. But it's more so like, are you experiencing a man asking questions?
Yeah.
Like, is he curious about how you feel,
Hmm.
not what you did yesterday, right? Like, how was your weekend? Ugh. Like, how was the weather? Ugh. Right? It's like, how'd that good weather make you feel? Right?
Yeah.
It's like if a man can understand and bring you to a place of your feeling, that's to me that means he's someone who is curious about what's going on inside of your heart and what's going on inside of your mind. Can that man actually listen and be present to your emotional expression? And that's a challenge for us men to sit still and sit back and not respond or react, like even just holding that space, like imagining how being empathic, like do you feel that that man is holding that space and at least attempting to feel what you're feeling?
Yeah.
Is that
That's a big
is that
one.
helpful?
That's
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
definitely helpful. Thank you.
All
So
right, good. Yeah.
what's your advice to women to help them stay grounded in their worth while navigating relationships during this shift?
Really looking at the areas in which they shame themselves. And
Oh,
by shame, I mean, what is wrong with me? Something is wrong with me, right?
hmm.
And where can you do a shame survey of like, well, what's wrong with me versus like, where can I give that part of myself more love? There are
Yeah.
also practices like just getting more into the feminine. Like I've suggested with many women, like, and these photos don't have to be shared, but like get like a boudoir session, like fall in love with your
Take a
body
class.
and yeah, or
Yeah.
something where you can be safe and not obviously safety is the most important
Hmm.
piece, but like not have to practice with men yet, like because a lot of women that I've seen, they go right back to the same pattern, the same man
Yep.
and the same just dressed differently, right? But
Hmm.
like addressing those wounds and being able to again bring that shame into a place of self-love, and that's for men as well. It's men and women. I think a lot of this fits for us both. I love powerful women. Like I love powerful, magical women.
Hmm.
And I applaud power and freedom and expression and also what can a woman do? Like, back on this point, like, can a man drive you to bring out more of your feminine? Like, can he make a bath for you, or even suggest go in the bath? Like, this is your,
Like, I
maybe like
insist.
this is your,
Yes.
right. Or like, even learn it. What would be cool is like, and I wish I learned this in earlier relationships, like learning about women's cycles and what they need during
Yeah,
those
it's
times of
needed
their life. Like that's,
for sure.
yeah, I was such a jerk at certain points in relationships and wish I had
Yeah.
known more and what I can pay attention to and be aware of now.
Yeah, because women go through like it's like the moon cycle, like it's the moon. It's like the
Hmm.
full moon's like full expression, full of overflowing emotions. And then as the moon's losing its light, that's like in correspondence to the time when they're like going through their cycle itself. Like
Yeah,
they're shedding everything. And that's when the mood goes low. And that's more
yeah,
of like a more
and we,
retreating period of their lives.
yeah.
That's usually a space where men could hold more space and patience for her mood fluctuations.
I saw a brother of mine recently, like he has this habit when his wife is on her cycle, and
Yeah.
in that low period, he'll bring her flowers and was
Oh, it's
teaching his
wonderful.
children to do the same thing. It was so cool. Yeah. It was a really
It's
beautiful
wonderful.
expression.
That's a
Yeah.
beautiful expression indeed. Yeah, it's really getting people should follow his example,
All right. I was going to
with
say,
that.
women, if the men are doing that, keep them, or at least like keep them for a while,
It
right?
helps her feel like safe and valued.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially
Hmm.
with the flowers. That's wonderful. And that's like a space for us to just become more present with each other. Like whenever we're going, because I'm sure men go through fluctuations in their moods too. Not to say they have
Totally.
cycles like us, but they do have something similar to it because you guys ebb and flow as well. Because
Yeah, for sure.
we all have going through astrology lens, we all have moon signs. Like moon in our birth charts have to do with our feminine side. It also has to do with our like feelings of security and safety. Even men have moods too, and
Yeah.
as long as they
Yeah.
like hold space for themselves to express or feel in that moment instead of impulsively reacting, they become much
Yeah.
better. And even women
Well,
understand it better too.
and it comes like what's underneath that is learning, okay, what does safety feel like in my body? Because
Yeah.
most at least my experience for me and the men that I've worked with, and
Hmm.
even women too, like we don't even know what the hell safety feels like.
No.
It's like, oh, I can drop, I don't have to keep my shoulders like this all the
Yes.
time, right? It's like I
Yeah.
can actually feel wider in my own body. And
Hmm.
these are a lot of the things that I teach, is like it does, it's not, there's no separation between my emotion and my body. It's like it is my body.
Yeah, water's the
Yes.
emotions of our body, and that's why we're all
Amen.
connected to um the moon. The moon in terms of how
Hmm.
it actually increases our flow of the water, like retention in the body, and it's also in correspondence to the moon, like the ocean tides. So the ocean tides like rise when the moon increases in its light, when it becomes full. We grow more too. We are more bloated for one, bloated, but
Yeah.
also emotionally increasing. Like we're much more emotionally sensitive, I should say. And also even our moods like go up and down very quickly. So it's just like we're all connected, like even through
Yeah.
astronomically,
Yeah.
spiritually, energetically, and it all makes sense as to our
It
reactions
does.
to situations. But I feel like we develop the conscious awareness within ourselves and how we navigate those feelings of safety. We become more aware of how we react,
Yes.
more patient with
Amen.
ourselves, patience with others, and all those things too. So, what's the one thing you wish more women understood about men who are on this journey?
A woman's role, this is not the sole role, but I really feel like when it comes to this and relating, like a woman's, one of her chief roles is to bring a man closer to his heart. And, that happens
Mhm.
and it's hard for men to connect to their hearts. And I'm no expert,
Mhm.
well, maybe I am, but at least just through experience, right? And by experiencing it, also falling on my face too,
Yeah.
and I surround myself with women and relate with women who can bring me closer to my heart.
Mm.
And I know they want me around because I can be more grounded for them to express. So, I think that's what we can give each other. So for women, it's like bring that softness, bring which it happens naturally, but even more of it. It's not the doingness. It's like, can you be that softness for your man or the men in your life? And I think we all could use a little bit more of that.
So beautiful. Thank you. And also for the men
Welcome.
listening, what's one grounded first step they can take toward emotional awareness and presence?
Don't skip leg day.
Like that. That's a good
Don't
one.
skip because, and truthfully, like your legs are what grounds you. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason I say that is because like as we get
Yeah.
older, we fall, we can't hold ground,
Yeah, your
right?
hip, the
And
hip
it's
structure isn't as strong too
and
as
our
women.
balance gets weak. So I
Hmm.
think don't stop training. And yes, there's so much more work to do emotionally, but it's, and meditation is often like a big chunk to swallow. Like, how do you eat a 300 pound or 3,000 pound elephant? It's one bite at a time. There's so many different pieces we need to
Yeah.
chew off as men. But I think being grounded and understanding that, our best self is the one that is present and
Hmm.
grounded. So, listen to understand, not be understood,
Hmm.
and ask more questions, lead with curiosity, and don't skip leg day.
Don't skip like that. I love it because the
Mhm.
legs have to do with exactly the groundedness is the root chakra, right? The root
Yes,
chakra is the
yeah,
base of our life, base of the spine, is
yes.
where we stand most firm. You're now a featured speaker at Gaia's Immersion Conference. And how did that alignment come into your life?
Well, I've been a fan of Gaia for years.
Hmm.
Just watching their content, and ironically, one of the people at the top of Gaia is also a Jersey person,
Oh,
as
so
you
cool.
are,
That's
and
amazing.
my connection with her goes way back, and I got an opportunity to present and share my body of work, and it made sense and fit Gaia. So Gaia's mission, which I haven't seen other public companies of this size and velocity and momentum, that
Hmm.
their pure mission and focus and vision is expanding consciousness. And
Yeah.
when you talk about expanding consciousness, especially in today's day and age, I mean, chaos is everywhere. Uncertainty is rampant. So nobody
Yeah.
knows what's happening. We don't know if the news is real or not. And there's just a lot of yuck. However, there's also these collective bodies of humans like us who are
Hmm.
looking to expand consciousness. And when we can combine with a group that has power and production capability like Gaia, it's an extreme honor. Like, I feel this conference, and I've said this prior, and I firmly believe that we're at the tip of the spear.
Yes.
There's like 11 or 10 other speakers, besides me, incredibly gifted humans who are awesome at facilitating and teaching, and thought leaders, astrologists, healers, just a really amazing conglomerate of people together to push consciousness forward. And I think we're at that tipping point, and Gaia's, leading the pack.
What are you presenting here?
My talk is called Being the Hollow Bone. And the hollow bone is a shamanic term, and it
Mhm.
means basically having structure without excess, or strength without all the rigidity. And the underscore through line is embodied presence through neuroscience and ancient wisdom. So I've taken things that I've experienced and learned through shamanism and plants and earth medicines, as well as my own experience in psychology and philosophy and everything else, and put that into a body of work that helps me guide myself
Mhm.
first, because I believe that if we can change ourselves, the world changes around us, and vice versa. Like, this is all like a major through line here. The work that I'm sharing on stage is really the things that have helped me heal and become more present and become more grounded and become a leader in expanding consciousness.
We need that more than ever. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's very important now than ever to be connected to this kind of platform and learning like other ways of how we could regulate ourselves through our own inner consciousness and also
Yeah.
through the teachers such as you teaching people how to tap into that. So thank you for your work and continuing this light work that you are,
You're
doing.
welcome.
Can you tell me where my audience can find you or anybody's like come across this podcast? Like, what platforms are you on right now you'd like to share?
Sure. My website is Dr. Brian, drbrianparis.com. And I'm the same on Instagram, Dr. Brian Paris. And also check out Gaia.com for tickets to the upcoming Immersion Conference. That's
Absolutely.
March 4th. It's coming up fast. So hopefully this gets out there. But
Yes.
for the first time ever, Gaia is offering this as like a one-off. You usually
Hmm.
have to have, like, you can come live, and all the
Hmm.
links are in my bios. You can come to the conference live. You can stream it if you're a certain level of Gaia membership, but you can also buy this as a one-off. So really, really excited to be part of this.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm going to post that in the show notes and everything so people will be able
Okay.
to like link up with you and see what this Gaia Immersion Conference is about. But again, Dr. Brian, this was like such an amazing, amazing conversation. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for
Thank you,
coming.
Lumi. Thank you for the work that you do in the world.
Thank you so much for everybody joining the You Are Celestial podcast. And I will see you next week. Be well.